Hi everybody, it's me. It's Dr. Kestler from Lorain County Community College. I know it's been a minute since I've done one of these, but welcome to today's co-video. The reason you haven't seen a lot of me is because things have been pretty good, and I guess that's good. And it's still good to see me, and there's still a few things we need to work on and get ready for. The next big hurdle we have coming is the flu season coming up next year, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Um, what I want to do is talk about opening up is a big part, and why I think it is completely 100% okay to do that. And even looking at some of the concerns that I've heard from people who've expressed them to me. Um, First of all, I'm not even going to take my temperature. I'm done with that. I will tell you that it is a couple of days away from summer, and the sunshine is really coming in. I'm outdoors today in my backyard. I've been working in my backyard a lot, and you can see from the data here, even from April 17th to April 21st to the 17th till today, there is quite a bit of difference in the amount of virus circulating. These are hot spots listed right here. You can see even Michigan has turned, the mitten has turned into a yellow mitten from a purple mitten. And so that is good. There are still some hot spots around, but by and large, the country is moving towards yellow or even green. From the U.S. map, you can see even from April how different things were. In April, we had a number of, looks like we were going through an upturn. That upturn only was only temporary, because we ended up going down to where we are today. Our vaccination efforts are good. The number of vaccines that we have, it would be better to get more vaccines. The more vaccines, the better off we are going to be. And I'm going to give you a really good reason for it in just a second. The vaccine rates are looking fairly good. And I think that people are quietly getting vaccinated without much fanfare, and I think that's a good thing. So the U.S. and Ohio is open. The Ohio opened on the 2nd of June, and so is California, New York, and a whole bunch of other places are open. And I think that it is a good thing to go out and test the water. Test the water, and when you test the water, sometimes you find out from this slide here, the one that has all the data on it for the vaccination and the incidence rates, you'll notice that there is upticks in just a few states in the United States as of today, and this is taking average of a week. Just a few states are up this week, and those states tend to, not exclusively, but tend to be more of the states that are not vaccinated as much. However, I am encouraged by the fact that as people get more exposure at a local level, as people get more local concern, there is going to be more vaccinations going on, and that also seems to be the case. Here are the top, I guess it's what, 10 or so states that are showing increase in vaccination rates. In some of those same states were the ones that were having the problems. So in other words, people get into cycles where infections go up, and they realize, oh, maybe now is the time to get that vaccine. And so they're going off to get that vaccine. And that's all very good news. Now, one of the things that people have been, and this is just showing you the data from Ohio, it just gets better and better. We see a lot fewer and fewer cases. In Lorain, we are, in my particular age group, we're very well vaccinated, and we are getting more and more vaccines in all of the age groups going forward. By the way, there is a new vaccine coming. I'm not going to talk about that today, but there is a brand new vaccine coming that is just the spike protein alone on the virus. I want to talk about variants because variants are a big deal here. And I've been studying viruses for my entire adult life, and I will tell you that variants mean something different depending on the virus you're looking at. And I can tell you let me talk about HIV. That's the one I know the most about, and I will tell you HIV. It has been 50 years now or so that we've been looking at this virus, and we don't have a vaccine yet. Very good reason for no vaccine. The variants that you get in an HIV are all about escaping host immunity. Variants are about host immunity. So as soon as I make an immune response, it changes. Flu, to some extent, is like that too. This is not the case with coronavirus, not at all. Coronavirus mutates, at least the SARS-CoV-2 one, mutates for infectivity. How can I be more infectious? How can I infect more people? And that seems to be where it is. Because so far, knock on wood, I've said this before, and I need to say it again today, the vaccines that we have are covered. Now, I want to talk about one particular variant in particular. We're starting to know all their names. The latest one is called Delta, also known as the Indian VOC, variant of concern, also known as B1617-2. That's a really sexy name, but that describes some of the mutations that are in it. Delta is the newest kid on the block, and Delta is in America. Delta is in England. I'm going to be talking about England for the most part, and in the next few, in Great Britain. In Great Britain, you will notice that there is currently a small, you'll see over on that, this is the tracking the data from the new reported cases. You'll see that as time goes on, there is a small uptick right about now. And that slight uptick is a little bit concerning, but not to me, because I think I understand what that uptick is all about. I think that is unvaccinated people. There are unvaccinated people all over the place, and I don't know if English people, British people are more susceptible to conspiracy theories, but I will tell you that it was the British people who were burning down cell towers to get rid of coronavirus. And I just want to point out before anybody gets ideas, that didn't work. So there is a hardcore population of people who are not getting vaccinated, and I think that this virus is spreading in that population. The message should be to gently tell them, y'all need to get vaccinated. Well, I looked over this paper, which describes the Delta variant, and I will tell you that the Delta variant, like the B117, which is also which is a British variant, has been extremely successful. And if you look at this data here, you can see that we start out with the alpha, and that's actually the B117. That's the first variant of concern. That's the one that's actually in the United States back in March. Now we're seeing Delta just like they do in England, and you'll notice that Delta is more or less has become the dominant player. Whereas I showed you a similar kind of graph months ago when the alpha, when B117 came into existence, it did the same sort of a thing. What they further did to study this is they looked at data. Now what we're looking at here is a lot of data here. We're looking at the B117 versus the Delta strain, and we're looking at the difference between vaccinated people and unvaccinated people. And there are two populations, and they're looking at Pfizer and they're looking at Oxford AstraZeneca, and that's the only one. That's the only one that they could look at because that's about all they have going on in Great Britain. And what you'll notice here is that you will notice the numbers, and you will notice the number of people developing disease, and something called vaccine efficiency. And the vaccine efficiency is how good did the vaccine do. And on the Pfizer vaccine, you'll see the one vaccine 27 days, 0 to 27 disease days after, so right after. Second dose, the second class is people who have received the first dose, and it's 28 days later. And then the third column is when they've received the second dose, the first two are first dose, the second dose, and the second dose after 28 days is the final one. So you can see if you get fully vaccinated, when you get fully vaccinated, if you look at the vaccine efficiency, what we can see from this population, looking at the number who get vaccinated and the number who don't, that there is a vaccine benefit efficiency of, in the case of the Pfizer vaccine, about 79% for people who are fully vaccinated. And these are looking at asymptomatic and symptomatic people. And then when you look at the AstraZeneca vaccine, we're talking about a success rate of 60%. Sorry, I had to lift my glasses there so I could see. And this, if you look at the old data for the Alpha vaccine, of course, is quite successful, 92% effective for the Pfizer vaccine, and the AstraZeneca is about 73% effective. Now, if you look at just the people who get sick, the symptomatic people, even there it is an effective thing. You look at the number of people. If you look at Pfizer out 14 days after the last dose, you can see that people are protected at 83% as opposed to 92% for Alpha. In the case of AstraZeneca, it's 61% protected versus 81% protected for the Alpha vaccine. So the answer to the variance is, simply put, right in front of people from Great Britain. The answer is Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner was one of the described the vaccine for smallpox about 250 years ago. Edward Jenner got the answer. The answer is vaccination. If you have an outbreak, so far every single variant that I've brought to you has been covered by these vaccines, and there does not seem to be a problem. We have to keep on in this country as well. We will see more Delta strains in our variants in our neck of the woods, and our answer should be the same: increase the vaccination, and that will help us. So, what I think you want to do to be a helper is, certainly if you haven't been vaccinated, and I think probably most people in this group have. Get vaccinated. If you have friends and such who haven't been vaccinated, I would encourage them in a conversation. I would not order them. I would not tell them. I would not give them ultimatums. All of that doesn't work. You can just tell them about your experience, tell them about other people's experience, and tell them about, maybe throw in a little bit of data. The better data is from the local data is best. What happens down the street is more important than what happens around the other side of the world. And I think that's the best way you can be a helper and make sure that people do the right thing. The vaccines work. That's the good news. They don't work if you don't use them. It's sort of like that old joke. I don't understand why I haven't won the lottery yet, and I've never been playing it, so I still don't understand why I haven't won it. You can't get the benefit unless you participate in it, and you can't. And that's going to become very important in the fall. Fall's another story, but right now, enjoy the sunshine and look out for each other. Thank you.